Sally, Molly, and Shelley are best friends. Only one of them is a mother. Can you guess who? Sally keeps diapers for newborns in the bathroom, so she's a mother. Sally, Molly, Shelley, and their friend Eric go for a walk late at night. They need to cross a bridge that will be lifted in 11 minutes. It will take Sally 3 minutes to cross it. Molly needs 4 minutes, Shelley 1 minute, and Eric 2 minutes. The bridge can only hold 2 people at a time, and the guys only have 1 lantern. So whoever crosses the bridge, someone has to go back to give the lantern to the others. What should they do? Eric and Shelley should go together first. It will take them 2 minutes to cross the bridge. Then, Shelley will spend a minute going back and passing the lantern. Then, Molly and Sally will cross the bridge. This will take 4 minutes. Then, Eric should go back with the lantern, which will take 2 minutes. And finally, Eric and Shelley will cross the bridge. The total time will be exactly 11 minutes. Eric lives on a farm and grows fruits. He's very angry because someone stole the largest watermelon from his garden the other night. Eric suspects one of his neighbors. So he decides to question them. Peter says, "Come on, Eric. Everybody knows that my fruits are way better than yours." Maya says, "I live alone and I'm allergic to fruits, so why would I steal your watermelons?" And Mike says, "I couldn't steal it even if I wanted to. I broke my right arm last week." Who's lying? Maya. Take a look at her blender. She's making a smoothie with banana and kiwi. Therefore, she lied about her allergy. Eric goes to his favorite restaurant and spots one odd detail right away. Can you see it too? The lady on the right is trying to eat soup with a fork. After lunch, Eric decides to visit the local historical museum to see an exhibition of rare, fancy shoes. Oh no! Someone stole the most precious pair that belonged to a queen. The museum guard studies the crime scene. He's confused because the thief left no clues. Numerous guests visited this exhibition on the day of the robbery. The guard decides to examine the footage of that day and finds the thief pretty quickly. Can you also spot a thief among these people? Something about this lady is very suspicious. She became taller in the second image. That's because she's wearing the stolen shoes. Eric leaves the museum and finds out that someone has stolen his car and crashed into a tree. He questions 3 suspects. Bella says, "I've just arrived at a business meeting, but I noticed your broken car and came closer to offer help." Lily says, "It wasn't me, but I think I saw someone running out of your car. He was wearing a hoodie." And Bill says, "My dog ran away this morning. I was just wandering around the block trying to find him." Who stole the car? Bella's watch is cracked, so she probably broke it in the accident. The next morning, Eric wakes up and finds himself in the middle of an enchanted beach. There are 3 possible routes to a portal that will bring him back to his town. The first passage is on fire. Creepy snakes are crawling all over the second road, and the third road is covered with hot lava. Which way is more or less safe? Both fire and lava can burn him badly, but the snakes won't attack unless he provokes them. Eric enters the portal. But instead of returning home, he goes to prison. Eric spends a month in jail planning to escape. During this period, he dug a tunnel and packed a bunch of food to eat. This is it. He's running through the tunnel, but at the end of it, he faces 3 doors. The most strict and strong guard is hiding behind the first door. There's a hungry vampire behind the second door. He bites anyone who dares to enter. And there's an angry dog behind the third door. Just like the vampire, it likes to bite the prisoners. Can you help Eric choose the best option? The third door. Eric has a lot of food. He can use it to distract the dog and escape. Finally, Eric is home and he can change. Eric has 53 socks in his drawer, 21 blue, 15 black, and 17 red. Suddenly, the lights are out and he's completely in the dark. How many socks must Eric take out to be 100% certain he has at least 1 pair of black socks? Let's consider a pessimistic scenario in which Eric pulls out only red and blue socks until they run out completely. He'll need to pull out 38 socks in total before he can even start pulling out the desired color. Therefore, we should add 2 more socks to the 38 figure to make sure Eric has at least 1 black pair. So the answer is 40 socks. The next morning, Eric goes for a walk in the park. Suddenly, a stranger grabs his phone and hurries away. Eric finds a police officer and describes the robber. He was wearing a coat, a hat, and a pair of glasses. He also had a mustache. The officer runs in the direction that Eric shows him. A bit further, he finds a hat, a coat, and glasses lying on the ground. He decides to search the local cafe. There are 4 visitors inside. One of them is the thief. Can you spot who? It's the guy on the right. He has a small wound on his upper lip. He must have gotten rid of his fake mustache in a hurry. Eric enters a coffee shop and buys a double cappuccino. He puts his cup on a table and leaves for a moment to wash his hands. Then Eric comes back and finds out that his coffee is missing. He decides to question 3 people nearby. Oliver says, "I was scrolling my feed, so I didn't look around. As for me, I can't drink cappuccino. I'm lactose intolerant." Nina says, "I also ordered 1 cappuccino, so this cup is mine. I can show you the receipt if you don't believe me." Sheila says, "I haven't been drinking coffee for 5 years because it makes me very anxious. Why would I steal your beverage?" After hearing what they had to say, Eric knows for sure who's a liar. What about you? There's a slice of cheese in Oliver's sandwich, but it can be vegan. Nina took a smaller cappuccino, so this cup can't belong to Eric. Meanwhile, Sheila is holding a can of cold coffee beverage. Therefore, her story is fake. Eric and his friend Shelley are meeting for coffee. She's very excited because she has a secret crush. Eric begs for his name, but Shelley is too shy, so she just writes the following code on a piece of paper. Can you figure out the name of her crush? The numbers imply 3 months: December, August, and November. If we take the first letters of each month, we'll get the name Dan. Shelley's birthday is approaching. Eric decides to save some money for a gift. On the first day of the month, he puts $1 in his piggy bank. On the second, he puts in $2. On the third day, $3, and so on. Yay! Shelley's birthday has finally arrived. And Eric has saved a total of $276 in his piggy bank. Can you guess the exact day of the month when Shelley was born? Shelley's birthday is on the 23rd day of the month. The easiest way to crack this riddle without engaging in any formula would be to simply add the numbers until we get 276. It will happen on the 23rd day. Eric gives Shelley her birthday gift and shakes her hand. Can you spot any mistakes in this picture? People tend to spot a wedding ring on the wrong finger, but it can be just a casual ring. But take a closer look at her watch. The majority of wristwatches have a crown on the right side, so here's the mistake. Andrew and Emma agreed to meet for a date at the park entrance at 9 p.m., but there was a slight problem. Both Andrew's and Emma's watches were showing the wrong time. Andrew's watch was 3 minutes behind, but he thought it was 2 minutes ahead. Emma's watch, on the other hand, was 2 minutes ahead, but she thought it was 3 minutes behind. Which of them do you think will be late for the date? Andrew will be 5 minutes late and Emma will be 5 minutes early. Gemma was attending a technology-themed costume party. When she arrived at the venue, she saw 3 people chatting by the drinks buffet who were all dressed in robot costumes. However, she noticed that one of them was a real robot. Can you tell who? Everyone is holding drinks in their hands, but take a look at the second guy. His glass is empty, but he's still pretending to drink something from it. Robots and liquids don't go well together, so he must be an actual robot. Realizing that Gemma noticed him, the robot immediately pulled her to the corner of the room and said, "Now that you know my real identity, I need to wipe your memory. But if you can answer my riddle correctly, I'll let you go. I have keys, but open no locks. I have space, but no room. You can enter, but you can't go inside. What am I?" The answer is a computer. Janice, Candace, and Demeter were 3 witches who cared a lot about looking young and beautiful, but one of them was actually 100 years old. Can you tell me who? The first witch, Candace, who is taking a selfie, looks like an old woman on her phone screen, but that's just a social media filter. As for the second witch, Janice, the creepy old lady looking shadow at the back is not her shadow. It's an evil spirit that's haunting her. But look at the mirror the third witch, Demeter, is holding. It's reflecting what she doesn't want others to see, aka her true face. So she's the old lady here. Lloyd went to the costume store to buy something to wear for Halloween. Once he selected a costume for himself, he headed to the fitting rooms to try it, but all 3 of them were occupied. A few minutes later, 3 different customers in costumes came out of them. The first one was wearing a vampire costume, the second was wearing a werewolf costume, and the third one was wearing a zombie costume. But Lloyd immediately realized that one of them was actually a real monster. Can you tell who? Take a look at the mirrors in front of the fitting rooms. The customer in the vampire's costume doesn't have a reflection. That can only mean he is a real vampire. Sir Ridley Stormrider was a knight searching for his one true love. He traveled to the kingdom of Eridonia after hearing rumors that there was a magical mirror there, which revealed the location of the heart's desire to those who looked into it. But there was a catch. It would only reveal it to you if you knew the answer to the riddle that was engraved on it. I'm often running, but I never get tired. What am I? Can you help Sir Ridley Stormrider find love? The correct answer is water. Inspector Banner was inspecting the Academy of History and Science. During his inspection, he noticed that whenever he asked the class a question, all the students raised their hands in response. Moreover, even though the school teacher chose a different student each time, the answer was always correct. How did this work? The teacher had prearranged with the students that they would be called upon to answer regardless of whether they knew the answer or not. But those who knew the answer should raise their right hand, and those who did not know should raise their left hand. The teacher chose a different student each time, but always the one who raised his right hand. Amy had one last test to pass before she graduated. Her professor asked her only one question during the exam, which was this. You have 2 candle wicks. Each wick, lit from the end, burns completely to the ground in exactly 1 hour, but it burns at an uneven rate. How can you use these wicks and a lighter to measure 45 minutes? Can you help Amy graduate? It's necessary to light the first wick simultaneously from both ends, which will give you 30 minutes. Simultaneously with the first wick, you light the second wick from the end, and when the first wick burns out after 30 minutes, you light the second wick from the other end, which will give you the remaining 15 minutes. Layla's best friend was her dog named Gamgee. One night after spotting a falling star in the sky, she wished that Gamgee could talk to her. Then, suddenly, the star came to life in front of her and said, I will grant you your wish if you can answer this riddle of mine. Always old, sometimes new, never sad, sometimes blue, never empty, sometimes full, never pushes, always pulls. What am I? The answer is the moon. To Layla's surprise, her dog really started talking. The first thing it said was, "Oh, this riddle game is so fun! I want to play it too! Here's my riddle to you. What's always found on the ground but never gets dirty?" It's a shadow. Jamie was standing at the edge of a circular lake. The lake was 200 feet in diameter, and there was a small island directly in the middle. There was a large tree next to him and a large tree in the middle of the island. Jamie needed to get to the island in the middle of the lake, but he didn't know how to swim. He only had a little over 200 feet of rope. How can he use that to get there? First, Jamie needs to tie one end of the rope to the tree next to him. Then, while he's holding the other end of the rope, he should walk all the way around the lake. This will wrap the rope around the tree in the center. When he returns to his starting point, he needs to tie the end of the rope he's holding to the large tree again. He can now use this rope bridge to hold on to and cross the lake to the island. Cedric was a brilliant scientist. One day, suddenly a small portal appeared in his lap, and a little device with a letter attached to it fell on his head right before the portal closed. The letter said, "From future Cedric to past Cedric, one of my experiments accidentally caused chaos to be unleashed on Earth. That is why I have to prevent you from conducting this experiment in the first place. You will find the details inside the box, but you can only open it if you know the answer to this riddle. What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, and never in 1,000 years? Can you help Cedric save the future world?" The answer is the letter M. People who visited the town of Maplebrook often found themselves intrigued by Mr. Perry. He had a reputation of a not quite intelligent person. That was because when offered a choice between a 50-cent coin and a $5 bill, he always chose the coin, even though it was worth 10 times less than the banknote. Can you tell why he never chose the banknote? Well, he was not so foolish after all. You see, he realized that as long as he chose the 50-cent coin, people would offer him money to choose from, and if he chose the $5 bill, the offers of money would stop, and he would get nothing. You just entered a riddle-solving competition. The game show host shows you the first riddle you have to answer. Take a look at the image. Who do you think will be able to make it all the way across the line? Let's face it, it's the man on the left. Even though it looks like he's having a hard time carrying such heavy things, the weight is evenly distributed between his two hands, so he'll probably make it through without any problem. For your next challenge, the game show host shows you a picture of sinking boats. Which boat do you think will sink first? The first boat has 2 holes in it, but somehow it has way less water inside. The second boat only has 1 hole, but look at the amount of water that got inside. It's definitely the second boat that's going to sink first. Since you passed the first 2 rounds, the third one gets a bit harder. Ken was riding on his rollerblades when he fell down and hurt his head. He woke up in the hospital only to find that 3 Barbies were waiting for him. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which Barbie is actually Ken's girlfriend? This is a tricky one. It can't be the third Barbie, because the real Barbie would never wink at Ken. It's usually him that does the flirty things. It's also not the second Barbie, because she would never put makeup in front of him. So this leaves us the first Barbie, who must be his girlfriend. The Fin is a famous hostel in Spain. It's especially famous for its fun showers. But hey, something doesn't look right in this image. Take a look and try to guess what it is. The woman on the right is squeezing a ketchup bottle instead of a shampoo bottle. That's definitely weird, huh? For the final rounds, the host picked out a few written riddles for you. The first one is, I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. Am I a microphone, a phone, or an echo? What would you say? The answer is an echo. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I? A tree, fire, or clouds? The correct answer is fire. Way to go if you chose that. Matthew works in the same company as Jean. He's had a crush on her for months and has been trying to impress her in any way he can think of. That's why he decided to take part in the Brain Challenge, a contest his company organizes once a year. By saying yes, he had to answer a bunch of expert-level questions and solve some pretty difficult riddles. For the first round, he had to crack a rebus puzzle. Take a look at the piece of paper they gave him. Can you guess the answer? The answer was invisible string. Nice! For the next round, they took Matthew to a room full of random stuff. His task was to find a specific object. As a clue, they gave him a piece of paper that said, "What goes up when the rain goes down?" Look around and help him find the object. It was that red and blue umbrella over there. For the final round, Matthew had to solve an AI riddle. If he answered it correctly, he would win the contest's main prize and probably Jean's heart. The riddle said, "I have 1,000 needles, but I do not sew. What am I?" Can you guess what he answered? The correct answer is a porcupine. Alfred is a supermodel, and he just landed his dream job. The biggest magazine in the country invited him to be on the cover of their latest issue. On the day of the photo shoot, he arrived early in the studio. After finishing with hair and makeup, he looked in the mirror and screamed, "Oh no!" His skin was all red. It looked like he was having some serious allergic rash. He called all the assistants he had seen earlier that day to interrogate them. Amy, the photographer's assistant, said she had been told Alfred was allergic to peanuts, so she made sure to only buy safe snacks. Bo, the makeup artist, said he hadn't touched Alfred's food. He said that right after he had finished his job, he left for a coffee break. Mary, the cleaning lady, said that she knew how sensitive models could be, so that's why she only used organic and hypoallergenic products to clean his dressing room. Alfred immediately knew who had contributed to his rash. Can you figure it out too? It was definitely Bo. Sure, he didn't have access to Alfred's food, but he was the only one who touched Alfred's face that day. Liv was recording a dance routine for her social media page when a huge portal opened up and swallowed her whole. The next thing she knew, she was stuck inside a big cavern. Out of the blue, a great genie appeared. He told her that she would only be allowed to leave if she figured a way out by herself. As soon as he disappeared, she saw that there were 3 buttons on the wall. There was a red, a yellow, and a green button. On the floor, there was a note that read, "TDUPT RNOR EHEB SST." She clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a hidden door on the wall. Can you guess which button she chose? The red button. She unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." As soon as she pressed the button, Liv was transported into a virtual reality world. An artificial intelligence greeted her and showed her 3 doors. The AI told her that there was only one door that would lead her to freedom. It told her that behind the first door, there were hungry Pac-Men waiting for someone to walk inside. Behind the second door, there were cursed rollerblades. Once you put them on, you would never be able to take them off. Plus, they had a will of their own and ended up taking you to some pretty dark places. Behind the last door, there were flying fuzzy creatures with laser eyes that burn anything they came into contact with. Which door do you think Liv should choose to escape? Well, she should pick the second door because she wouldn't be obligated to put on the pair of rollerblades. She could walk past them and straight to her freedom. During the time she was gone, Liv noticed that someone had stolen her laptop. It had all of her social media content in it. She figured it must have been one of her roommates, so she decided to take a look around the house to try to find it. Take a look at these images. The first room belongs to Jill. The second one belongs to Rachel, and the third one belongs to Amy. Can you figure out who stole Liv's laptop? If you look closely, Rachel's cat is sleeping on top of something that really looks like a laptop. It must have been her. On a hot summer day, Marjorie decided to go to the public swimming pool. As soon as she arrived there, she ran into 3 close friends, Sarah, Raven, and Donna. One of these women just gave birth to triplets. Can you guess who? It was Donna. If you look closely at her wrist, she's wearing 3 DIY bracelets with the word Mom written on them. Sam was backpacking through Latin America when he stopped at a restaurant to get some lunch. When he walked inside, he immediately spotted something weird. One of the customers is definitely not human. Can you guess who? It's the guy on the counter. Look, he's charging his hand on the counter socket. He must be a robot or something. Selma is a witch. One day, she returns home and finds out that the most powerful magic book from her library is missing. The thief left a note with the following letters. Can you guess what this message means? Selma should read this book from left to right. This way, the message reads like, "Your book is in a swamp cabin. Come at midnight and pick it up." Selma calls her sister Alma, and they go to the swamp cabin together. The house is empty, so they decide to explore the attic. Selma finds a dusty book and reads a couple of words out loud. Suddenly, Alma turns into a frog. Thankfully, every spell in this book has a canceling potion, but unfortunately, some parts of this book are written in weird language. Only one of these 3 potions will help. The trick is to find a recipe that contains the maximum number of words similar to the text on the left. Can you help Selma? Take a look at the first recipe. It has 2 matching words. The second recipe has 4 matches, and the third one has just 1. So the guys need to use the second potion. Thankfully, Alma turns back into a human. The sisters keep on exploring the cabin. Can you spot which emoji is absent in this location? This one. What about this room? Can you sort the adjacent emoji out? The fourth emoji doesn't belong here. Suddenly, a wicked wizard arrives at the cabin and says,
"Hello, Selma. I'm ready to return your book if you manage to solve my riddle. When do we see 2 but call 10 instead?"
When we look at the clock and see the number 2, we say 10 minutes. The wicked wizard returns the book to Selma and says,
"There are 3 ways out of the swamp, but only one of them is safe. There are venomous spiders crawling around the first route. A couple of werewolves are hanging out on the second route. And the third route is full of magic traps, hidden in unknown places. Good luck!"
Which way is more or less safe? Selma and Alma should choose the second route. Take a look at the sky. It's a new moon, so the werewolves are not dangerous. The next day, Selma goes to the magic school. She meets a new student, Sebastian, and falls in love at first sight. Selma gets so nervous in his company that she can't even talk. She decides to put a love note into his backpack. Now her task is to remember which backpack belongs to Sebastian. Here's what she remembers for sure. If it's red, it doesn't have any buttons. If it's blue, it doesn't have a handle. Also, it's not standing next to the last backpack in line. Can you help Selma find Sebastian's backpack? we can exclude these red backpacks because they have buttons. Also, we can get rid of the blue backpack with a handle. And now, all we need to do is to sort out this backpack standing next to the last one in line. And voila! Sebastian's backpack is over here. Later that day, Sebastian finds Salma's note, but her message is encoded. Can you help him figure out the hidden meaning? Too good for me. Meanwhile, Salma returns from school and goes to take a bubble bath. Can you spot what's wrong in this bathroom? Take a closer look at her bathtub. There's a shark fin sticking out of the water. It's vacation time. Selma goes hiking in the woods, while Alma is having a barbecue party in the mountains. One of the sisters is in danger. Can you guess who just by looking at their pictures? Although Alma's tent is dirty and old, it's still pretty useful. Meanwhile, Alma is making a barbecue right next to a jar of gasoline, so she's in more danger. It starts raining. Selma decides to leave the forest and check into the local hotel. The manager says,
Welcome. We only have 4 empty rooms left. You can check them out and choose.
"Can you help Selma make the best choice?" The window in the first room is not safe. There are cracks in the glass. Something alive is moving under the bed sheets in the third room. And the fourth room has a haunted mirror. So, Salma should choose the second room. Salma walks around the hotel and comes across a spooky wedding ceremony. One of these people is a werewolf. Can you guess who? It's the groom. Take a closer look at his outfit. It's hiding a wolf tail. The hotel security gets an emergency alert. There is a woman with fake documents among the hotel guests. The guard finds 3 suspects. Can you spot whose passport is fake? No matter what person a country is from, no passport can have a photo with a sunny beach in the background. They should be solid, so Karen's documents are fake. Salma goes to the spa area of the hotel. Can you spot who's not from this planet? These 2 ladies seem completely fine, but there's a bandage on this lady's arm. It's unlikely that a human being would choose to go to a sauna if they had cuts or scratches. Someone broke an old cursed statue in the local museum. Anyone who comes into contact with the fragments of the statue gets a green rash. The manager invites Salma to investigate this mysterious case. She finds 4 suspects and questions them. Drake says, "Lady, I didn't even see the sculpture. I only came here to use the toilet." Morgana says, "I wanted to see this particular piece, but unfortunately, I arrived here too late. I didn't know about the curse, so I touched the fragments." Fiona says, "I didn't break the statue, but I stole 1 fragment to sell it. Then I noticed a rash and I threw it away." Xavier says, "I read about the curse, so I prefer to stay away from this artifact." Who's lying? It's okay for Morgana and Fiona to have a rash. They both touched the cursed sculpture. But why did Drake get a rash? Salma goes to a magic store to purchase some ingredients for her rituals. The saleslady offers a 50% discount if Salma cracks her riddle.
I never was there. I'm always to be. You have never ever seen me, nor ever you will. Yet I am the confidence of everyone. Who am I?
The correct answer is future. Salma invites a couple of friends for dinner. Someone suggests playing cards, but for some reason, Salma is facing bad luck all night. Can you guess why she's losing? There's a mirror behind Salma. The other players can see her cards. After the party, Salma notices that her antique gold candlesticks are missing. She visits 4 suspects at their homes and questions them. Lily says, "I was very tired after the party, so I took a taxi and went home. You can ask the driver. My hands were empty." Bella says, "I didn't steal your stuff, Salma. Everyone knows that I'm richer than you." Alma says, "Come on, you're my sister. I know how much those candlesticks mean to you." And Sebastian says, "Honestly, I didn't pay any attention to your things. I was looking at you all night." Who's the thief? Bella's dog is digging the ground in her backyard. Take a closer look and you'll notice Salma's candlestick sticking out of the ground. Busted!
Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was 1 door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, that would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Now look at this party scene. Everyone is dancing in their Halloween costumes and having an enjoyable time. You've been told that one of these people is a real vampire. Can you figure out who it is? Let's see. The guy on the left is drinking something red, but he has a shadow, so he can't be a real vampire. The second lady looks creepy, could be her, But if you look closely at the mirror on the wall, you'll see her reflection, so it can't be her. Ah, and we can also see the reflection of the fourth guy in the mirror. This only leaves one lady left. She must be the real vampire. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. Brendan was camping alone in a remote location. He left his campsite and hiked 3 miles south. Then he turned east and hiked for another 3 miles. After that, he turned north and hiked for another 3 miles. After walking 9 miles, he was back to the exact same point from where he had left off. Plus, he got there just in time to find a bear trying to open his tent and steal his food. Look at the image. Can you guess the only place in the world where Brendan could be right now? It's the North Pole. That's the only place where you can hike for 3 miles south, east, and north and end up exactly where you left off. Fraser bought a cozy home in Vancouver. On a sunny day, he decided to take his dog out for a walk. When he let his dog off the leash, it ran extremely far away from him. At some point, the dog was opposite him across a huge lake. Fraser called his dog, who managed to cross safely to the other side of the lake without getting wet or using a boat. Can you guess how the dog managed to do it? Well, that's a trick question, but the dog could easily cross the lake since it was frozen. Your best friend invited you for brunch at a place called Wally's World. As soon as you arrive there, the hostess tells you that you need to solve a riddle to get inside. She tells us that there is only one rule at Wally's World. Over there is pizza with cheese, but no pizza with sausage. There is pepper, but no salt. There is a door, yet no entrance or exit. With this information, can you guess what the law is? Everything in Wally's World must contain double letters. So things such as pizza, pepper, and cheese are allowed inside. Woo! That sure wasn't obvious, huh? On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, a question mark, then Smith. He threw the snowball. Dr. Brown knew immediately which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, question Mark Smith. He threw the snowball. But the boys were clever and put a question mark instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. Henry was backpacking through Brazil by himself. One evening at around 8 p.m., he got very hungry and decided to look for a cozy restaurant to have some dinner. He walked into a traditional restaurant only to find a customer and a waiter arguing over something. The customer said that he had ordered clam soup, while the waiter was saying he had only ordered a cup of tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Can you find out too? The customer is lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. Cheryl ran into her house extremely worried. "I set off as soon as I heard the news," she told the police officer. "I was at my parents' house in another town. What's happened to my husband?" "Well," the police said, "somebody hurt Mr. Moffat, and he ended up in the hospital. He's going to be okay, but we still need to find out who did this to him." The police officer has questioned 3 suspects so far. Mr. Moffat's secretary said, "I was sent to visit Mr. Moffat's business partner in the morning. Some important documents needed signatures." The cook said, "I haven't left the kitchen today. Mr. Moffat wanted me to prepare a meal for him and his wife." The housekeeper said, "I didn't hear anything today. I was doing some household chores all day long. After that, I was so tired, I decided to take a nap." The police officer realized who the culprit was in no time. Can you figure out who did it? It was the cook. Mr. Moffat didn't ask him to cook anything for his wife, since she had been out of town all along.